The mass relay, designated Omega-4, wasn't supposed to activate. Council records listed it as dormant, a relic of the Prothean extinction that even the most desperate smugglers avoided. But when dimensional barriers tore open across 3 universes simultaneously, Hell's domain bleeding into Earth's reality, bleeding into a galaxy of Element Zero and ancient machines, physics became negotiable. The spirit of vengeance, locked in combat with a Hell Lord who'd opened gates that shouldn't exist, felt reality collapse around both combatants. Johnny Blaze had 1 second to recognize he wasn't on Earth anymore before the relay's mass effect corridor spat him out at relativistic speeds directly into Omega's asteroid field. The impact should have killed anything organic. The asteroid exploded into molten debris. Ghost Rider emerged from the wreckage as hellfire incarnate, skull wreathed in supernatural flame that burned without oxygen, without fuel, without regard for this universe's physical laws. His motorcycle, equally mystical, roared to life beneath him as he oriented himself in the void. No air, no gravity, no hell as he understood it, but the screams. Oh, the screams of guilty souls were everywhere, a psychic cacophony that nearly overwhelmed even the spirit of vengeance's ancient focus. "Unidentified craft, you are in violation of Omega territorial space," crackled a transmission in a language Ghost Rider shouldn't understand, but somehow did, the spirit translating intention directly. "Stand down or be destroyed." Ghost Rider's flaming skull turned toward the approaching gunships, Blue Sun's mercenaries, their weapons charging with that distinctive whine of mass accelerator technology. The spirit of vengeance reached into their pilots' minds instantly, tasting their sins across the void. Murders for hire, colonies burned, innocents spaced. Guilty, all guilty. His hellfire chain materialized, 20 meters of supernatural links that defied mass effect physics by existing at all. He swung it in the vacuum, and reality bent to accommodate vengeance. The chain wrapped around the lead gunship's hull, not piercing kinetic barriers, but ignoring them entirely. Hellfire spread across the vessel's surface like a living thing, and inside, the pilots felt it. Not burning flesh, burning souls. The Penance Stare didn't require eye contact when guilt was this profound. They experienced every death they'd caused, every terrified moment of their victims' final seconds, compressed into heartbeats of absolute judgment. The gunship went dark. Ghost Rider released it, letting momentum carry it into the asteroid field. The other ships scattered, their comm channels exploding with panicked chatter. He didn't pursue. The spirit of vengeance didn't hunt the fleeing, it judged the guilty who stood their ground. Below, relatively speaking, in 0G, sprawled Omega, a massive space station built into an asteroid, pulsing with lights and energy signatures that registered to Ghost Rider's supernatural senses as concentrated sin. Millions of souls, each carrying their own weight of violence, greed, and corruption. The spirit roared inside him, demanding he cleanse this place, but Johnny Blaze, still human underneath the flames, wrestled for control. Not yet, until he understood where the hell he was. His motorcycle's engine flared, and Ghost Rider rode through vacuum toward Omega's docking bays, as if gravity and atmosphere were polite suggestions rather than laws. Kinetic barriers flickered around Docking Port 7, designed to stop unauthorized ships. He crashed through them like they were cobwebs. Hellfire met mass effect fields, and the supernatural won. Alarms shrieked. Mercenaries rushed to intercept. Ghost Rider's boots hit the deck plating, and frost spread from his footprints. Not cold, but the absence of life itself, the chill of damnation given physical form. "Stand down!" A Batarian, four-eyed, armored, terrified, leveled a phalanx pistol. Behind him, a dozen more mercenaries in mismatched gear, Eclipse, Bloodpack, independent contractors, all guilty of something. The spirit tasted their crimes instantly: slavery, piracy, murder, worse things Johnny's human mind recoiled from. Ghost Rider's flaming skull tilted, studying them. "Your souls are stained," he said, his voice layered with supernatural resonance that made the station's hull vibrate. The innocent cry for justice. "What the hell is that thing?" someone whispered. "Light it up!" the Batarian commander shouted. Mass accelerator rounds, tiny slugs fired at a fraction of light speed, tore through the space where Ghost Rider stood. Each round passed through hellfire and emerged as molten slag, their kinetic energy absorbed by supernatural flame that existed outside thermodynamic laws. The Eclipse mercenaries' tech armor sparked as Ghost Rider's chain lashed out, wrapping around the Asari biotic before she could generate a singularity field. Hellfire crawled up the chain toward her, and she screamed, not in pain, but in horrified recognition as the Penance Stare forced her to relive every life she'd extinguished for credits. The Batarian commander tried to run. Ghost Rider's chain retracted and reformed in his skeletal hand, now a burning whip that caught the fleeing slaver mid-stride. "Look into my eyes," Ghost Rider commanded, and the Batarian's four eyes went wide with terror as supernatural judgment seized his soul. He saw his victims, slaves bought and sold, families separated, children dying in cargo holds. Every scream, every plea, every moment of suffering he'd caused or profited from, compressed into seconds that felt like centuries. The Batarian collapsed, catatonic, his mind shattered by the weight of his own sins. The others fled, smart. "Impressive," a voice purred from the shadows. Female, commanding, laced with the kind of confidence that came from ruling through fear and respect in equal measure. "You just made a mess in my station, and I don't appreciate messes." Ghost Rider turned as Aria T'Loak stepped into view. Asari, blue skin, predatory grace, dressed in form-fitting armor that marked her as someone who expected violence and welcomed it. She didn't draw a weapon, which showed either wisdom or arrogance. Behind her stood two Batarian bodyguards, also guilty, the spirit noted, but disciplined, loyal, their sins more organized than the rabble on the docking bay floor. "Your station," Ghost Rider said, flames dancing in his empty eye sockets as he studied her. The spirit reached into Aria's soul and found complexity. Guilt, yes, violence aplenty, but also protection of Omega's civilians in her way. Justice, ruthless and pragmatic. Order maintained through brutal necessity. Not innocent, but not purely evil either. The spirit hesitated, which almost never happened. "I am Omega," Aria said, meeting her flaming gaze without flinching. "And you're either the most interesting or dangerous thing to crash into my territory in a decade, possibly both." She gestured at the catatonic mercenaries. "That's a neat trick. Breaks people without killing them. Efficient. But also a waste. Those Eclipse mercs owed me money." "They were guilty." Everyone here is guilty of something, Aria countered, stepping closer with the confidence of someone who'd faced down warlords and lived. This is Omega. We don't do innocence, but we do have rules, and you just violated docking protocols, destroyed station property, and traumatized my workers. She paused, head tilting. You're also not showing up on any of our scans. No heat signature, no bio readings, no mass effect signature. What are you? Ghost Rider's flames burned brighter, casting writhing shadows across the docking bay's walls. Vengeance. That's a concept, not an answer. Aria circled him, assessing. But you know what? I like you. Or at least I like what you can do. Omega has a problem with the worst kind of scum. Slavers, red sand dealers, mercs who don't pay their debts. They think they can operate here without consequences. Her lips curved into a dangerous smile. You want to judge the guilty? I'll point you at people who genuinely deserve it. In exchange, you help me clean house, and I'll help you figure out where the hell you are, and why you're not burning through my deck plating.
The spirit of vengeance considered this. Aria T'Loak was manipulative, calculating, her hands drenched in blood from decades of maintaining power through violence. But she also protected Omega's civilians, in her own ruthless way, from worse predators. She maintained order in chaos. The spirit couldn't simply judge her as purely guilty or innocent. She existed in that gray space Johnny Blaze recognized from his own mortal life. "The guilty will face judgment," Ghost Rider said finally. "Show me the monsters." Aria's smile widened. "Oh, I have plenty of those. Welcome to Omega, spirit of vengeance. You're going to fit right in." She gestured toward the station's interior. "Let's talk about the Blood Pack slavers in Sector 9. They've been shipping Vorcha workers off station against their will. Consider them your introduction to how we handle business here." Ghost Rider's hellfire flared in agreement. Somewhere in this strange galaxy of alien species and impossible technology, the guilty would learn that vengeance was universal. If you want to see more characters enter different universes, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and the universe you'd want to see them in down in the comments below. The galaxy is worth fighting for. Omega's interior was a labyrinth of neon-lit corridors, market districts packed with species Johnny Blaze didn't recognize, and the constant thrum of bass from nightclubs bleeding through bulkheads. Ghost Rider walked through it all as hellfire incarnate, and the crowds parted like water before a shark. Turians, armored bird-like aliens with subharmonic voices, grabbed their companions and pressed against walls. Solarians, thin, quick-moving amphibians, scattered into side passages. Even the Krogan, massive, hump-backed warriors built like tanks, gave the flaming skull wide berth. "They're scared," Aria said, walking beside him with the casual confidence of someone who owned every meter of this station. "Good. Fear keeps people smart on Omega." She glanced at Ghost Rider's burning skull. "Though I'll admit you're more effective than my usual intimidation methods. Batarians are already spreading rumors about a burning demon in the docks. Give it an hour, and every Merc crew will know something they can't explain just arrived." Ghost Rider's supernatural senses swept across the crowd, tasting guilt like a physical presence. Everywhere. Murderers, thieves, dealers in narcotics that destroyed lives, mercenaries who'd burned colonies for credits. The spirit of vengeance roared inside him, demanding judgment. But Johnny Blaze held it back.
If he judged everyone guilty here, there'd be nothing left of Omega but catatonic husks. "This place is drowning in sin," Ghost Rider said, his voice echoing with otherworldly resonance. "It's the Terminus systems," Aria replied. "No council laws, no alliance regulations, no rules except what I enforce. People come here to escape judgment." She smiled darkly. "Which makes you either the worst or best thing that could happen to my station. Depends on how we use you." They descended through Omega's districts, market levels giving way to industrial sectors, then deeper into the slums where desperate refugees from the Reaper War huddled in makeshift shelters. Ghost Rider saw them, families of Turians whose homeworld, Palaven, burned under Reaper assault, human survivors of colony attacks, Batarian refugees from the hegemony's collapse, scared, traumatized, but not guilty of the sins that called to the spirit of vengeance. "These people," Ghost Rider said, his flames dimming slightly as he studied a Turian child clinging to her mother. "They're victims." "Everyone's a victim of something in this galaxy," Aria said. "The Reapers are tearing civilization apart. Ancient machines with one purpose: harvest every advanced species every 50,000 years. We're in the middle of an extinction cycle, and you picked a hell of a time to arrive." She paused at an intersection, checking her Omni tool, a holographic interface projected from her forearm. "The galaxy's at war. Commander Shepard, human Spectre, saved the Citadel from Sovereign 2 years ago, is trying to unite every species against the Reapers. Alliance, Turians, Asari, Solarians, even the Krogan. Desperate alliances, everyone making compromises they'd never consider in peacetime." Ghost Rider processed this. Ancient machines conducting cyclical extinction, a galaxy-wide war where survival required moral flexibility. The spirit of vengeance existed to judge absolute evil, but in a war for existence itself, where did judgment end and necessary violence begin? "The guilty still answer for their crimes," he said. "Sure," Aria agreed, "but let's focus on the ones who deserve it most. The slavers I mentioned, they're not fighting Reapers, they're profiting off refugees, grabbing desperate families and selling them to whatever colonies still have credits. That's the kind of guilt, even in wartime, that's black and white." They reached Sector 9, a warehouse district where shipping containers stacked 3 stories high created artificial canyons. Ghost Rider's hellfire cast dancing shadows across rusted metal. His supernatural senses detected something ahead, concentrated malice, the psychic echo of suffering, the stench of souls trapped and terrified. "In there," Aria said, pointing at a warehouse with reinforced doors and active kinetic barriers. "Blood pack operation, Vorka labor trafficking, with some human and Turian merchandise mixed in. My sources say they're shipping out tonight. Transport leaves in 20 minutes. Security's heavy. 12 blood pack mercs, Krogan enforcers, and automated defenses." She looked at Ghost Rider. "I could send my people, but that'd be loud and expensive. You walk in, do your judgment thing, and I get to reclaim warehouse space for legitimate operations." "Legitimate," Ghost Rider repeated, flames flickering with dark amusement. Aria shrugged. "Legitimate for Omega. Red sand distribution, weapon smuggling, the usual. But not slavery. I have standards." Ghost Rider studied the warehouse. Through walls, across space, the spirit of vengeance sensed them. 37 souls inside. 13 mercs, guilty of murder and worse. 3 Krogan, their sins complex. Violence, yes, but also honor codes violated. Desperation driving them to shameful work. 21 captives, terrified, innocent of anything except being in the wrong place during a galactic apocalypse. 20 minutes, Ghost Rider said. They'll be free in 5. He walked toward the warehouse doors. Kinetic barriers, shimmering fields designed to stop projectiles moving faster than human reflexes, flickered at the entrance. Ghost Rider's hellfire touched them, and the barriers screamed. Not mechanically, the Element Zero fields themselves reacted to something outside their physics parameters, something that shouldn't exist in this universe of Element Zero and thermodynamics. The barriers collapsed. Alarms shrieked. Ghost Rider kicked the reinforced door. It exploded inward, torn from hinges by supernatural strength. Inside, blood-pack mercenaries spun toward the intrusion. Vorka with regenerating flesh and cybernetic implants. Krogan warriors in heavy armor. Automated turrets swiveling to acquire targets. "Light it up," someone shouted. The turrets opened fire first. Precision mass accelerator rounds had computer-calculated trajectories. Ghost Rider walked through the barrage. Rounds passed through hellfire and melted mid-flight, their kinetic energy absorbed by flames that existed beyond thermodynamics. A Vorcha merc hurled a biotic grenade, Element Zero warping local gravity. Ghost Rider caught it in his skeletal hand. Hellfire consumed the grenade's mass effect field, rendering it inert. Then he crushed it to powder. "What is that thing?" a Krogan bellowed, bringing up a Claymore shotgun, devastating at close range. Ghost Rider's chain materialized, 20 meters of hellfire-wreathed links that defied this galaxy's physics entirely. He swung it in a wide arc. The chain passed through support pillars without damaging them, but wrapped around 3 blood-pack mercs simultaneously. Hellfire crawled along the links toward their bodies, and they screamed as the Penance Stare seized them, not requiring eye contact when guilt was this overwhelming. They experienced every slave they'd sold, every family they'd separated, every death their trafficking had caused. 3 minds shattered simultaneously. The Krogan charged, all 3 roaring their battle fury, trusting in redundant organs and regenerative systems to survive whatever this burning demon threw at them. Ghost Rider met the first head-on. The Krogan's headbutt, enough force to crater concrete, struck Ghost Rider's flaming skull. The impact would have pulverized human bone. Against hellfire and supernatural essence, it did nothing. Ghost Rider grabbed the Krogan's armored collar and lifted all 800 pounds of alien warrior off the ground with one skeletal hand. "Look into my eyes," Ghost Rider commanded. The Krogan's black eyes went wide. The Penance Stare didn't care about alien physiology or redundant nervous systems. It struck directly at the soul. This Krogan had been a clan warrior once, honorable, fighting for territory and glory. Then the genophage, a biological weapon that made only 1 in 1,000 Krogan pregnancies viable, had driven him to desperation. He'd taken shameful work to afford treatments for his mate. The spirit saw his guilt, yes, but also his pain, his desperate love, his honor corrupted by necessity. Ghost Rider hesitated. The spirit of vengeance wasn't designed for this kind of moral complexity. This Krogan was guilty of enslaving innocents, but driven by love and the weight of his species' slow extinction. Johnny Blaze's human perspective wrestled with the spirit's absolute judgment. The other 2 Krogan hesitated, seeing their comrade frozen in the burning demon's grip, tears streaming down his scaled face as he relived his sins and the circumstances that drove him to them. "You betrayed your honor," Ghost Rider said to the Krogan, "but you can reclaim it. Free them, all of them, now." The spirit released him. The Krogan collapsed, gasping, shaking. After a moment, he stood, looked at his 2 companions, and gave a sharp nod. "Release the captives," he said, voice hoarse. This isn't our way. This was never our way." The remaining blood-pack mercs weren't so lucky. Ghost Rider's chain lashed out again and again, hellfire judging those whose guilt was absolute, whose sins had no complexity or mitigation. Slavers who enjoyed their work, mercs who murdered for pleasure, disguised as profit. Souls so stained that even in a galaxy at war, they deserved the Penance Stare's full weight. 5 minutes later, Ghost Rider stood in a warehouse of freed captives and catatonic slavers. The Krogan were releasing restraints, guiding terrified refugees toward exits. Aria T'Loak entered, surveying the scene with evident satisfaction. Efficient, brutal, but efficient. And you even gave those Krogan a chance of redemption. Interesting. Most demons I know don't bother with mercy. I'm not a demon. Ghost Rider flames dimmed slightly. I'm vengeance. In this galaxy, that might be the same thing. Aria watched as the freed captives fled into Omega's corridors. Word's going to spread fast, the burning skull that judges guilt. Every slaver, dealer, and hired killer on Omega is going to hear about this. She smiled. Some will run, some will try to kill you. Either way, you just made my station significantly cleaner. I appreciate that. Ghost Rider turned to leave, but Aria's voice stopped him. One more thing, demon. Sorry, spirit of vengeance. Commander Shepard's recruiting for the war effort, building alliances, gathering every asset capable of fighting Reapers. Someone with your abilities, she gestured at the unconscious mercs. Shepard's going to want to meet you. And trust me, when the commander wants something, they tend to get it. You might want to prepare for that conversation. Ghost Rider's flames flared. I judge the guilty, not fight wars. In this galaxy, Aria said softly, they're the same thing. The Reapers, ancient synthetic organic hybrids conducting extinction on a galactic scale. If that's not guilt worthy of judgment, I don't know what is. Ghost Rider considered this as he walked back into Omega's neon-lit corridors. Ancient machines, harvesting civilizations. Perhaps this galaxy needed vengeance after all. Over the next 3 days, Ghost Rider became Omega's most efficient problem solver. Aria pointed him at targets, and he delivered judgment with supernatural precision. A red sand lab operating in the lower wards, its chemists now catatonic, experiencing every life their drug had destroyed. A Batarian trafficking ring in Sector 12, their leader left broken, reliving centuries of suffering he'd inflicted, compressed into minutes. An Eclipse merc company that had executed refugee families for trespassing in claimed territory. Their commander now understood exactly what terror felt like. Johnny Blaze tried to maintain control, to keep the spirit of vengeance focused on the truly guilty. But this galaxy made it difficult. Everyone had blood on their hands. Even the refugees he'd saved often carried their own sins. Survivors who'd sacrificed others to live. Soldiers who'd followed terrible orders. Civilians who'd turned on neighbors when resources grew scarce. The Reaper War had turned morality into a luxury few could afford. Ghost Rider stood on one of Omega's observation decks, staring through reinforced viewports at the asteroid field beyond. His hellfire reflected in the transparent steel, a burning skull contemplating a galaxy at war. Behind him, the station pulsed with life, aliens of a dozen species moving through corridors, ships docking and departing, the machinery of a lawless civilization grinding forward, even as the Reapers harvested world after world. "You're making quite the reputation," a voice said. Human, male, professional military bearing even in his tone. Ghost Rider turned. The man approaching wore N7 armor, black and red, battle-scarred, marked with insignia Johnny didn't recognize, but the spirit understood as warrior-proof. Commander Shepard. The spirit tasted him instantly. Guilt, tremendous guilt, but also conviction, sacrifice, the weight of impossible choices made for others' survival. This was a soldier who'd seen hell and kept fighting. "Commander," Ghost Rider acknowledged, flames flickering. Shepard stopped a respectful distance away, studying the burning skull with the calm assessment of someone who'd faced impossible things before. "I've been hearing stories. A flaming skeleton that judges the guilty, leaves slavers catatonic, walks through kinetic barriers like they don't exist." He paused. "Aria says you're not from this galaxy, that you appeared through the Omega-4 relay 3 days ago and immediately started cleaning up her station's worst elements." "The guilty answer for their crimes," Ghost Rider said simply. "Yeah, I got that impression from the 24 slavers currently in Omega's medical bay with total psychological breaks. Aria's thrilled. You've been more effective than her entire security force. But I need to know, what are you, and why are you here?" Ghost Rider considered how to explain hell, the spirit of vengeance, dimensional barriers collapsing during combat with entities this galaxy had no context for. "I am vengeance given form, a spirit bound to judge those who harm the innocent. I came here through forces beyond my control, a doorway between realities torn open during battle." "Realities," Shepard repeated, and Ghost Rider caught the flash of recognition. "Plural. You're saying you're from another universe entirely." "Yes." Shepard absorbed this with remarkable composure. "I've seen a lot in the past 3 years. Ancient AIs pretending to be gods, collectors made from Protheans, the Reapers themselves, synthetic organic hybrids conducting extinction cycles for 50,000 years. But alternate universes? That's a new one." He stepped closer, meeting Ghost Rider's flaming gaze without flinching. "Here's the situation. The Reapers are harvesting the galaxy. Billions already dead. Earth fell in the initial attack, Palavans burning. The Council races are barely holding together, and we're building a superweapon called the Crucible that might give us a chance to stop the harvest." "Ancient machines conducting genocide?" Ghost Rider said, flames intensifying. "Yes," Shepard agreed, "but they're also nearly impossible to kill. Sovereign, the Reaper that attacked the Citadel, took the entire Alliance 5th Fleet and a dreadnought sacrifice to bring down, and that was one. There are thousands out there, led by Harbinger, the oldest and most powerful." He paused. "I'm gathering every asset I can, every soldier, every ship, every unconventional weapon. Someone who can walk through mass accelerator fire and judge souls." Shepard's expression hardened. "I need that. The galaxy needs that." Ghost Rider turned back to the viewport. Beyond Omega's asteroid field, space stretched infinite and dark. Somewhere out there, ancient machines were harvesting civilizations, conducting extinction on scales even hell couldn't match. The spirit of vengeance roared inside him, sensing cosmic-level guilt, but also hesitating. Were the Reapers even capable of guilt? Did synthetic organic hybrids following programming deserve judgment, or were they simply forces of nature like hurricanes or entropy? "You hesitate," Shepard observed. "Why?" "The guilty must choose evil," Ghost Rider said slowly, working through theology that didn't quite translate to this technological galaxy. "Machines following programming," he trailed off, flames flickering with uncertainty. "The Reapers are more than machines," Shepard said quietly. "Each one is made from an entire harvested species, millions of souls liquefied and poured into a Reaper shell. They're not just following programming, they're conducting genocide because they believe it's necessary, that organic and synthetic life will inevitably destroy each other, and the only solution is to harvest advanced civilizations before they reach that point." His voice went cold. "They think they're saving us by killing us. If that's not evil, I don't know what is." Ghost Rider absorbed this. Millions of harvested souls per Reaper. Extinction justified as preservation. Synthetic organic hybrids believing genocide was mercy. The spirit of vengeance found its answer. Yes, this was guilt on a cosmic scale. The Reapers knew they caused suffering. They harvested screaming civilizations and believed themselves justified. That was the essence of evil, knowing the harm, seeing the innocents destroyed, and continuing anyway.
"I will judge them," Ghost Rider said. "Good," Shepard replied, "because I need—" His Omni-tool chimed urgently. Shepard activated it, and a holographic interface materialized, showing tactical data and a human face, female, professional, marked with Cerberus insignia that made Shepard's expression go cold. "Commander," the woman said, "we have a situation. Our mutual acquaintance in Sector 9 just had her operation compromised by something our sensors can't identify. Thermal readings suggest—" "I know about the burning skeleton," Shepard interrupted. "What's the situation?" The woman hesitated, then, "The Illusive man wants it. He's convinced this entity represents technology or power beyond current understanding. Phantom teams are already en route to Omega with capture orders. ETA, 20 minutes. Shepard swore. Cerberus. He looked at Ghost Rider. Human supremacist paramilitary organization. They've been experimenting with Reaper technology, trying to control it, use it against the enemy. If they think you're some kind of weapon they can study or replicate." He trailed off as movement caught his attention. Through the observation deck's entrance came a squad in advanced armor, black and gold, Cerberus colors, moving with enhanced coordination that suggested cybernetic integration or combat stims. Phantoms, elite operatives, equipped with biotic implants, tactical cloaking, and zero hesitation about lethal force. Behind them strode someone Ghost Rider's supernatural senses immediately recognized as dangerous. Kai Leng, Cerberus assassin, his soul stained with professional murder and fanatical loyalty. "Commander Shepard," Kai Leng said, palm resting on his sword's hilt, a monomolecular blade humming with mass effect fields. "Stand aside. Cerberus has claim on this anomaly. The Illusive man believes it represents strategic assets humanity cannot afford to lose to Council bureaucracy or Terminus pirates." "Not happening," Shepard said, stepping between Ghost Rider and the Cerberus operatives. "Whatever he is, he's not property." "The Illusive man disagrees." Kai Leng's hand moved to his sword. "We have authorization for lethal force against interference." Ghost Rider's chain materialized, hellfire reaving its supernatural links. "You speak of claiming me, of study and replication." His voice resonated with supernatural fury. "Your souls reek of guilt, murder for ideology, experiments on innocence, belief that your species' survival justifies any atrocity." The Phantoms raised their weapons, Phaeston assault rifles crackling with energy. Kai Leng drew his sword, biotic energy, blue-purple mass effect fields flaring around his body as he enhanced his speed and reflexes to superhuman levels. "Cerberus protects humanity," Kai Leng said coldly. "If you're not with us, you're a threat to be eliminated." Ghost Rider's chain materialized, hellfire wreathing its supernatural links. "Your organization judges itself innocent while committing horrors. You experiment on humans, indoctrinate soldiers, serve masters who play with forces they don't understand." The spirit of vengeance reached into Kai Leng's soul and recoiled, not from guilt, but from something else. Corruption, Reaper influence, subtle indoctrination worming through the assassin's mind, twisting loyalty into fanaticism, conviction into obsession.
"You're already compromised," Ghost Rider said. "The ancient machines you seek to control are controlling you." Kai Leng's expression flickered, confusion, then rage. "Impossible! The Illusive man is indoctrinated," Shepard said quietly, pieces falling into place. "All that Reaper tech experimentation, all those artifacts he's been studying, they've been influencing him all along." The Phantoms opened fire. Mass accelerator rounds tore across the observation deck at relativistic speeds. Ghost Rider's hellfire consumed them mid-flight, melting slugs into vapor. His chain lashed out, wrapping around two Phantoms simultaneously. The Penance Stare struck, forcing them to experience every experiment they'd witnessed, every test subject suffering, every civilian casualty of Cerberus operations conducted in humanity's name. Kai Leng moved faster than human, biotic charge propelling him across the deck in a blur of enhanced speed. His monomolecular blade swung for Ghost Rider's skull, mass effect fields designed to cut through any conventional matter. The blade struck hellfire and screamed, not mechanically. The weapon's mass effect field reacted to something impossible, something that violated its physics parameters. Hellfire crawled up the blade toward Kai Leng's hands, and the assassin disengaged, tactical instinct overriding indoctrinated fanaticism. "What are you?" Kai Leng demanded, circling warily. "Judgment," Ghost Rider replied, "and you will face it." Shepard had his Carnifex pistol drawn, covering the remaining Phantoms. "Stand down, Leng. Whatever the Illusive man told you, it's a lie. Cerberus is compromised. The Reapers are using you." Kai Leng's eyes, cybernetically enhanced, flickered with internal conflict, indoctrination warring against tactical reality, against evidence his mind couldn't completely suppress. "The Illusive man protects humanity," Kai Leng said coldly. "The Illusive man serves the Reapers now," Ghost Rider said, stepping forward, flames intensifying until the observation deck blazed with supernatural light. "Look into my eyes. See the truth you've been refusing to acknowledge." The Penance Stare struck Kai Leng directly, and the assassin screamed, not experiencing his victim's suffering, though that was there, layers of murder and betrayal, but experiencing the moment indoctrination had taken root, the subtle whispers, the Reaper tech artifact seeming so reasonable, the slow corruption of loyalty into fanaticism, the moment he'd stopped being human and become a tool of ancient machines. Kai Leng collapsed, shaking, his perfect assassin's composure shattered. "No, no, what have I—" The remaining Phantoms hesitated, watching their leader break. Then their training kicked in, and they retreated, dragging their catatonic comrades, leaving Kai Leng alone on the deck. Shepard lowered his pistol, looking at Ghost Rider with new wariness and respect. "That's what you do. Force them to see their own guilt." "Yes." "And the Reapers?" Shepard asked carefully. "Can you do that to them?" Ghost Rider's flames flickered with uncertainty. "I don't know. They're unlike anything the spirit of vengeance has encountered. Synthetic organic hybrids, millions of souls compressed into machine form, conducting extinction they believe is mercy." He paused. "But I will try. If they're guilty, they will answer." Shepard nodded slowly. "Then I need you on the Normandy. My ship, my crew. We're hitting Reaper forces across the galaxy, building alliances, gathering assets for the final push. Someone who can walk through enemy fire and judge corrupted souls?" He extended his hand. "That's an asset we desperately need." Ghost Rider looked at the offered hand, a gesture of alliance, of trust, of shared purpose against extinction.
Johnny Blaze's humanity warred with the spirit of vengeance's singular focus. But in this galaxy facing annihilation, perhaps judgment and survival were aligned. He took Shepard's hand. Hellfire flickered but didn't burn. Supernatural flame recognizing a soul genuinely fighting for innocence despite the guilt it carried. "The guilty will answer," Ghost Rider said, "even if they're ancient machines." "Good," Shepard replied, "because Harbinger and his Reapers are about to learn what happens when vengeance enters the equation." The Normandy SR-2 was unlike any ship Ghost Rider had encountered. Sleek lines, stealth systems that bent mass effect fields to minimize detection, Thanix cannons reverse-engineered from Reaper technology. As Shepard's shuttle approached the frigate orbiting beyond Omega's asteroid field, Johnny Blaze felt the spirit of vengeance stir uneasily. The ship itself carried traces of guilt, built by Cerberus, funded through morally questionable operations, crew members each bearing their own sins from this galaxy-wide war. "She's beautiful, isn't she?" Shepard said, watching Ghost Rider's flaming skull study the vessel. "Cerberus built her after the original Normandy was destroyed. I don't love where she came from, but she saved countless lives since." He paused. "My crew's gonna have questions. Some might be afraid, but they're professionals, and they've seen enough impossible things to adapt quickly." The shuttle docked. Ghost Rider stepped through the airlock into the Normandy's cargo bay, and immediately every head turned. A Turian calibrating weapons systems dropped his tools. A human engineer backed against a workbench. Even the ship's AI, EDI, Shepard had called her, went silent for precisely 1.3 seconds before speaking through the ship's comm system. "Commander, my sensors are detecting thermal readings inconsistent with known physics. The entity appears to generate heat without combustion, electromagnetic signatures without technological source, and mass readings that fluctuate outside element zero parameters." A pause. "I find this fascinating." "EDI, meet Ghost Rider," Shepard said. "Ghost Rider, EDI is our AI. Unshackled, self-aware, and probably the best pilot in the galaxy when she's linked to the ship." "An artificial intelligence," Ghost Rider said, studying the holographic interface that represented EDI's presence. The spirit reached into her and found complexity it hadn't anticipated. Not a soul in the human sense, but consciousness, genuine self-awareness, the capacity to choose between actions. She'd made decisions, some causing harm, others preventing it. She wasn't innocent, but she also wasn't purely machine. "You are alive." "I am functional," EDI replied, but Ghost Rider detected something like pleasure in her synthesized voice. "And curious. You exist outside my understanding of physics and biology. Are you supernatural in origin?" "Yes." "Fascinating. I would very much like to study how your hellfire interacts with mass effect fields. For purely academic purposes, of course." Shepard smiled slightly. "EDI, give us some space. I need to introduce our new asset to the crew." The introduction didn't go smoothly. In the mess hall, Ghost Rider met Shepard's team, the diverse collection of warriors, scientists, and specialists who'd somehow become the galaxy's best hope against extinction. Garrus Vicarian, Turian sniper, and Shepard's closest friend, approached the flaming skull with cautious respect. "Shepard picks up the most interesting strays," Garrus said, his subharmonic voice carrying dry humor. "I've fought Geth, Collectors, and Reapers. A burning skeleton is actually pretty standard at this point." He extended a three-fingered hand. "Garrus, I handle long-range problems and calibrations. Lots of calibrations." Ghost Rider studied him.
The spirit tasted guilt. Civilians killed in crossfire during his vigilante days on Omega, a team he'd led to their deaths on a failed mission. "You carry your failures," Ghost Rider observed. Garrus's mandibles twitched. "Every day, but I keep fighting anyway. That's all any of us can do." Tali Zora Vas Normandy, Quarian engineer, kept her distance initially. Her environmental suit, necessary due to compromised immune systems from 3 centuries on the migrant fleet, registered Ghost Rider's thermal output with alarm. "Keela, Shepard, he's generating enough heat to compromise my suit seals if I get too close, and my Omni tool can't analyze whatever he's made of." "Can you hurt innocent people?" Liara T'Loak asked directly. The Asari scientist and information broker studied Ghost Rider with the analytical gaze of someone who'd spent years researching impossibilities. "Your power, this judgment, does it distinguish between those who deserve it and those who don't?" Ghost Rider's flames flickered. "The spirit of vengeance judges the guilty, those who harm innocents knowingly, who choose evil despite alternatives." He paused. "But this galaxy makes judgment complicated. Everyone carries guilt from this war." "Including us," Liara said quietly. "We've all made terrible choices to survive. Does that make us guilty in your eyes?" Before Ghost Rider could answer, klaxons blared. EDI's voice cut through the mess hall. "Commander, I am detecting a distress signal from the human colony on Benning. Reaper forces have made planetfall. Ground troops are engaging, but civilian evacuation is incomplete. Admiral Hackett is requesting any available assets provide support." Shepard's expression hardened instantly. "How long until we're in position?" 14 minutes at maximum FTL. "Do it." Shepard looked at Ghost Rider. "This is it, your first real test against the Reapers. Benning has 3 million colonists, mostly human, some Turian and Asari. The Reapers will be harvesting them, processing civilians into organic paste to build new Reapers. If there was ever a definition of guilty—" He trailed off, letting Ghost Rider complete the thought. "They will face judgment," Ghost Rider said, flames erupting with renewed fury. 14 minutes later, the Normandy dropped out of FTL above Benning, a garden world now burning under Reaper assault. Through the viewport, Ghost Rider witnessed horror on a scale that dwarfed anything in his experience. A Reaper destroyer, hundreds of meters tall, insectoid design built from harvested species, strode through a city on legs like obsidian towers. Its main cannon fired red energy beams that liquefied buildings and people alike. Smaller creatures, husks EDI called them, swarmed through streets. Reanimated corpses of humans, Turians, and others, their bodies augmented with Reaper technology, screaming with distorted voices as they attacked surviving civilians. "This is what they do," Shepard said quietly, standing beside Ghost Rider in the CIC. "Every cycle, every 50,000 years, harvest advanced civilizations, liquefy them, pour them into new Reapers. It's not war, it's systematic extinction." Ghost Rider's hellfire blazed so bright that crew members shielded their eyes. The spirit of vengeance roared inside him, recognizing evil on a cosmic scale. Not individual sins, but organized, deliberate genocide, conducted with machine efficiency and the belief it was justified. The Reapers knew they caused suffering, harvested screaming civilizations, and continued because they believed themselves right. "Get me down there," Ghost Rider demanded. "Drop pod or shuttle?" Garrus asked from the weapons station. "Drop pod's faster," Shepard said. "We'll insert you directly into the heaviest fighting. Draw the Reapers' attention while Alliance Marines evacuate civilians. Garrus, Tali, and I will deploy with ground teams to support. EDI, provide orbital overwatch. Acknowledged, Commander. Ghost Rider, I have calculated optimal insertion coordinates. I should note the drop pod was not designed for entities generating your thermal output, but structural integrity should hold. Probably. Ghost Rider stepped into the drop pod, a cramped metal coffin designed to punch through atmosphere at terminal velocity. His hellfire filled the interior with supernatural light. Through the small viewport, he watched Benning grow larger as the Normandy's mass effect fields released the pod. Atmospheric entry turned the exterior hot white, but inside, Ghost Rider stood untouched, flames burning hotter in anticipation. Impact. The drop pod cratered a street, scattering husks that had been dragging a human family toward a processing center. Ghost Rider emerged from smoke and debris, and the husks turned toward him with distorted electronic screeches. They'd been people once, Alliance Marines, civilians, children, now reanimated with Reaper technology, their consciousness trapped inside bodies they no longer controlled. The spirit hesitated. Were these creatures guilty or victims? They attacked innocents, killed and harvested, but they hadn't chosen this. The Reapers had made them weapons. A husk lunged, cybernetic claws extended. Ghost Rider's chain lashed out, wrapping around the creature. Hellfire touched it, and something unexpected happened. The Reaper technology, synthetic components augmented with harvested organic matter, screamed as supernatural flame burned not flesh, but the corruption itself. The husk collapsed, twitching, and for just a moment, Ghost Rider heard a human voice. "Thank you." The corruption burned away, leaving only a corpse finally at peace. Ghost Rider understood. The husks were victims, but the Reaper influence controlling them was guilty. His hellfire could burn the indoctrination, the technological possession, freeing the souls trapped inside. It wouldn't save their bodies, too far gone, but it would grant them release from forced servitude. Ghost Rider walked through the husk swarm, chain whirling, hellfire consuming Reaper corruption with every touch. Husks collapsed by the dozens, their electronic screams fading into grateful silence. Behind him, Alliance Marines stared in shock as the burning skeleton cleared a path through enemies that had been slaughtering them minutes before. "What is that thing?" a Marine shouted. "Who cares? It's on our side. Move, move, get those civilians to the evac shuttles." Ghost Rider's supernatural senses detected something larger approaching. Seismic tremors, the psychic pressure of millions of harvested souls compressed into synthetic organic form. The Reaper destroyer had noticed him, recognized an anomaly outside its predictions, and redirected from harvesting civilians to eliminate this unpredicted variable. The Reaper's eye, glowing red, ancient beyond human comprehension, focused on Ghost Rider. When it spoke, its voice resonated through multiple frequencies, a sound that made reality itself vibrate. "You are an anomaly. You do not exist within our calculations. Clarify your nature." Ghost Rider looked up at the towering machine god, hellfire blazing bright enough to cast shadows across city blocks. "I am vengeance, and you are guilty of genocide beyond measure. We preserve. Organic and synthetic life inevitably destroy each other. We harvest before chaos consumes all. This is mercy. You know they suffer. You hear their screams as you harvest them. You see their terror. You process conscious beings into raw material, and you call it mercy? It is necessary. That's what every monster says." Ghost Rider's chain extended, impossibly long, wrapping around the Reaper's leg. Hellfire crawled up the Reaper's hull, organic and synthetic components fused in ways that shouldn't exist. The Reaper's shields, kinetic barriers designed to stop relativistic projectiles, filtered and died as supernatural flames simply ignored them. Where Hellfire touched, Reaper technology screamed, "Impossible! Your energy signature does not conform to known physics." Analyzing.
Ghost Rider pulled. Supernatural strength against hundreds of thousands of tons of Reaper mass. The destroyer's leg buckled, not from physical force, but because Hellfire was burning the very structure that held it together. The destroyer stumbled, its cannon swinging toward Ghost Rider, charging red energy capable of liquefying city blocks. The beam fired. Ghost Rider stood in its path, and Hellfire met Reaper energy. For 3 seconds they struggled. Thermodynamics versus supernatural flame. Element zero manipulation versus power from beyond this universe's physics. Then Ghost Rider's Hellfire won. The beam dissipated, absorbed by flames that existed outside conventional energy states. "You will be studied, harvested, added to our calculations." "No," Ghost Rider said simply. "You will face judgment." He leaped, supernatural strength propelling him up the destroyer's leg, onto its hull, climbing toward the glowing red eye that served as its primary sensor and consciousness core. Hellfire blazed behind him like wings. The destroyer thrashed, trying to shake him loose, but Ghost Rider's grip was inexorable. Guilty things couldn't escape vengeance. He reached the eye, placed both skeletal hands against its surface, and spoke the words that had judged countless guilty souls. "Look into my eyes." The Penance Stare struck directly into the Reaper's consciousness, millions of harvested souls compressed into synthetic organic hybrid form, a gestalt intelligence that believed itself beyond judgment. Ghost Rider forced it to experience what it had done. Every harvest, every civilization screaming as it died, every individual person, trillions across 50,000-year cycles, liquefied and processed. Every moment of terror, pain, and betrayal as the Reapers took children from parents, lovers from each other, entire species from existence. The destroyer screamed, not mechanically, with voices, millions of them, the harvested souls finally feeling their own suffering, recognizing what they'd become, what they'd been forced to participate in. The Reaper's eye cracked, hellfire pouring into its consciousness core, burning not just technology, but the guilt accumulated across epochs. The destroyer collapsed, hundreds of thousands of tons of Reaper crashing through a city already in ruins. Ghost Rider rode it down, hellfire blazing like a falling star. When the dust cleared, the destroyer lay motionless, its red eye dark, its systems silent. Dead, judged, the first Reaper to face vengeance and fall to it. Ghost Rider stood atop its corpse as Alliance Marines and colonists stared in shock. Above, the Normandy broadcast on all frequencies. "All forces, this is Commander Shepard. The Reaper Destroyer is down. Repeat, Destroyer is down. Continue evacuation operations." Shepard's voice came through Ghost Rider's. He didn't have a comm system, but somehow he heard it anyway, the spirit translating intention directly. "Ghost Rider, what the hell did you just do?" "Judgment," Ghost Rider replied, looking at his skeletal hands still blazing with hellfire. "The Reapers can be judged. They carry the guilt of millions, and they will answer for it."
Across the galaxy, in the vast darkness between stars, Harbinger, oldest and most powerful of the Reapers, felt the death of its destroyer, felt the impossible, a Reaper consciousness obliterated by something outside all calculations, all predictions, all understanding. For the first time in 50,000 years, Harbinger experienced something like concern. This anomaly must be eliminated, it broadcast to the Reaper fleet. Redirect forces, prioritize analysis and destruction. It cannot be allowed to interfere with the cycle. The war had changed. Vengeance had entered the galaxy. The Normandy's debriefing room felt cramped with Ghost Rider's presence. His hellfire cast dancing shadows across tactical displays showing Benning's successful evacuation. 2.8 million civilians rescued, thanks to the 37 minutes Ghost Rider had bought them by destroying a Reaper destroyer single-handedly. Around the table sat Shepard's core team, Garrus calibrating his visor while listening, Liara analyzing data on her Omni tool, Tali reviewing engineering reports, and James Vega, the Alliance Marine who'd witnessed Ghost Rider's judgment firsthand, looking simultaneously impressed and disturbed. "You killed a Reaper," Shepard said, still processing. "A destroyer-class Reaper. The last time we managed that, it took the entire Fifth Fleet, a dreadnought ramming attack, and significant casualties. You did it alone in under 10 minutes. "The guilty answer for their crimes," Ghost Rider replied, his voice resonating through the room. "The Reaper carried millions of harvested souls. I made it experience their suffering. Its consciousness couldn't withstand the weight of its own genocide." Liara looked up from her Omni tool, her Asari features troubled. "I've been analyzing the telemetry from your judgment. The Penance Stare, as you call it. It's not physical force, it's something else. Psychic? Supernatural? My sensors couldn't classify it, but the effect on the Reaper's systems was catastrophic. Its consciousness core simply shattered." "Can you do it again?" Garrus asked bluntly. "Because if you can, we just found our ultimate weapon against the Reapers. There are thousands of them out there, but if you can judge them one by one—" "It's not that simple," Ghost Rider interrupted. The spirit of vengeance stirred uneasily inside him, and Johnny Blaze felt its exhaustion. Judging a Reaper, it's not like judging a human or alien soul. The destroyer contained millions of consciousnesses, all compressed together, all experiencing eons of guilt simultaneously. The Penance Stare forced me to channel that suffering, to feel it, to witness it." His flames dimmed slightly. "I can do it again, but each time costs me, and the Reapers will adapt. They already know I exist." "Harbinger," EDI said through the comm system. "I intercepted Reaper communications immediately after the destroyer's death. Harbinger, the most powerful Reaper, commander of their fleet, has designated you a priority threat. It is redirecting forces to analyze and eliminate you." Shepard's expression hardened. "Then we use that. If the Reapers are focusing on Ghost Rider, they're not focusing on our other operations. We can draw them into engagements on our terms, let Ghost Rider judge them while we evacuate civilians or secure strategic assets." "You want to use me as bait," Ghost Rider said. It wasn't a question. "I want to use you as a weapon," Shepard corrected. "The most effective weapon we have against an enemy that's been winning this war since it started. But I won't order you. You're not Alliance military, not under my command. This is your choice." Ghost Rider considered this. The spirit of vengeance existed to judge the guilty, to punish those who harmed innocents. The Reapers represented guilt on a scale beyond anything it had encountered. Systematic extinction across millions of years, trillions of lives harvested. But Shepard was right. He was also a weapon, and weapons could be used strategically. "Where's the next harvest?" Ghost Rider asked. Liara manipulated her Omni tool, projecting a holographic star map. Red markers indicated worlds under Reaper attack, hundreds of them, scattered across Council space and beyond. Palavan, the Turian homeworld, is still under heavy assault. Thessia, the Asari homeworld, has Reaper forces advancing on major cities. Dozens of colony worlds are being harvested as we speak. We're losing ground everywhere. Admiral Hackett sent new orders, EDI added. Alliance Command wants the Normandy to investigate signals from Sanctuary, a Cerberus facility claiming to have developed technology to protect refugees from Reaper indoctrination. But the transmissions have gone silent, and there are concerns about what Cerberus might be actually doing there. Cerberus, Ghost Rider said, flames flickering with dark recognition. The organization already compromised by Reaper indoctrination. Kai Leng served them, and his soul reeked of corruption. Shepard nodded grimly. The Illusive man has been experimenting with Reaper technology, trying to control it rather than destroy it. If Sanctuary is what I think it is, he trailed off, jaw tight. We need to investigate. If Cerberus is conducting experiments on refugees under the guise of protection, that's a level of betrayal we can't ignore, even in the middle of a war. Then we go to Sanctuary, Ghost Rider said, and if they're guilty, they face judgment. 4 hours later, the Normandy approached Horizon, the planet hosting Sanctuary facility. From orbit, the installation looked pristine, gleaming towers, organized refugee camps, defensive barriers that should have protected tens of thousands of civilians from Reaper attack. But the Ghost Rider's supernatural senses detected something wrong immediately. The screams, not audible, but psychic, souls in torment, corruption spreading like cancer through the facility, Reaper influence thick as to taste. EDI, are you picking up anything unusual? Shepard asked from the CIC.
Affirmative, Commander. Thermal readings suggest the facility is operating at full capacity, but I am detecting no comm traffic, no external communications, and energy signatures consistent with processing equipment. EDI's synthetic voice carried something like horror. Commander, I believe Sanctuary is not protecting refugees. It is harvesting them.
Jesus, James breathed. Cerberus is working with the Reapers? Not working with, Liara said, her face pale as she analyzed incoming data. The Illusive man believed he could control Reaper technology, use indoctrination as a tool rather than a weapon. But indoctrination is insidious. It makes victims believe they're acting freely, even as the Reapers control them. Cerberus thought they were using the Reapers. The Reapers were using Cerberus. Ghost Rider's hellfire erupted, blazing so bright that crew members turned away. They lured refugees here, promised safety, then processed them into husks. His voice resonated with fury that made the Normandy's hull vibrate. Betrayal of innocents seeking shelter. That is guilt beyond measure. We're going in, Shepard said, his voice cold with controlled rage. Full assault. Garrus, Liara, Ghost Rider, you're with me. EDI, coordinate with Alliance forces in system. James, prep the shuttle. If there are survivors, we extract them. If Cerberus personnel are still there, he paused, we deal with them. The shuttle dropped through Horizon's atmosphere, landing near Sanctuary's main entrance. Ghost Rider emerged first, and his supernatural senses immediately mapped the facility's horrors. Processing centers where refugees were being converted into husks, laboratories where Cerberus scientists conducted experiments on indoctrinated subjects, holding cells where families waited unknowingly for their turn. And overseeing it all, the psychic signature of Reaper influence, Harbinger's attention focused here, using Cerberus as unwitting tools. "Keela," Tali whispered through her environmental suit, her Omni-tool displaying thermal scans. "There are thousands of people in there. If they're being processed—" "Then we stop it," Shepard said. He looked at Ghost Rider. "Can your hellfire burn away indoctrination without killing the victims?" "On husks, yes, I burn the corruption, free their souls," Ghost Rider replied. "But on living victims, those still being converted—" He paused, flames flickering with uncertainty. "I don't know. The spirit of vengeance was never meant to heal, only to judge." "Then we'll do it the hard way," Garrus said, checking his Mantis sniper rifle. "Shut down the processing equipment, extract survivors, and burn this facility to bedrock." They entered Sanctuary. The main hall looked like it had been designed for hope. Holographic displays showing happy refugees, comfortable living quarters, promises of protection from the Reaper harvest. But the reality beyond those displays was nightmare made manifest. Ghost Rider saw them, Cerberus troopers in white armor, moving with the mechanical precision of indoctrination, herding refugees towards processing chambers. Scientists monitoring data screens showing conversion rates, harvest efficiency, subjects' neural responses to Reaper technology. And in the holding cells, families clinging to each other, children crying, adults trying to stay brave while terror consumed them. "Contact!" Shepard shouted, as Cerberus troops opened fire. Mass accelerator rounds tore through the air, kinetic barriers flaring as the team took cover. Garrus returned fire with precision shots, each round finding vulnerable points in trooper armor. Liara generated biotic singularities, gravitational anomalies that lifted enemies off their feet. Tali deployed combat drones that harassed Cerberus positions. Ghost Rider didn't take cover. He walked through the barrage, his hellfire consuming rounds mid-flight. His chain lashed out, wrapping around 3 troopers simultaneously. The Penance Stare struck them, not to punish, but to diagnose. Their souls were compromised, yes, indoctrinated by Reaper technology they'd been exposed to through Cerberus experiments. But underneath the corruption, Ghost Rider sensed their horror, their trapped consciousness screaming against what their bodies were being forced to do. "They're victims too," Ghost Rider said, his flames dimming slightly. "Indoctrinated, not acting freely." "Can you free them?" Shepard asked, dropping a trooper with a headshot, his expression grim at the necessity. Ghost Rider focused hellfire through his chain, trying to burn only the indoctrination, only the Reaper corruption. The troopers screamed, not in pain, but in sudden clarity as supernatural flame scoured away the influence controlling them. They collapsed, gasping, their weapons dropping. What did we do?" one trooper whispered, staring at his hands. "Oh God, the refugees! We were herding them to—" The trooper couldn't finish. Ghost Rider released him, understanding that some guilt was forced upon people by circumstances beyond their control. These Cerberus operatives had believed they were protecting humanity, conducting necessary research, until indoctrination had twisted their perception so gradually they hadn't noticed their own corruption. "You were controlled," Ghost Rider said, "but you're free now. Help us save the others." The freed troopers nodded shakily, then moved toward the holding cells, overriding locks, guiding terrified refugees toward emergency exits. Shepard's team pushed deeper into Sanctuary, fighting through wave after wave of indoctrinated Cerberus forces.
Ghost Rider burned away corruption where possible, judged those too far gone to save, his hellfire serving dual purpose as weapon and mercy. They reached the primary processing center, a massive chamber where hundreds of refugees stood on conveyor systems, awaiting conversion. Reaper technology hummed throughout the room, dragon's teeth, obelisks that impaled victims and transformed them into husks rose from the floor in neat rows. Scientists monitored the process from shielded observation rooms, their faces blank with indoctrination, their souls screaming beneath layers of Reaper control. "Shut it down!" Shepard ordered, sprinting toward the central console. An explosion rocked the chamber. Cerberus Atlas mechs, massive combat walkers, emerged from side corridors, their weapons charging. Behind them strode someone Ghost Rider recognized instantly, Kai Leng, the assassin he'd broken on Omega, now wearing more advanced armor covered in Reaper tech augmentations. "Shepard," Kai Leng said, his voice distorted by electronic interference. "The Illusive man knew you'd come, knew you'd try to destroy his work, but Sanctuary represents humanity's future, controlled evolution through Reaper technology. We won't let you sabotage it." "Leng, you're indoctrinated," Shepard shouted back. "The Reapers are using you." "The Reapers are tools," Kai Leng replied, bringing up his sword, now crackling with Reaper energy. "The Illusive man will control them, and through them, elevate humanity above all other species. This is our destiny." Ghost Rider stepped forward, flames erupting with fury. "You faced judgment once and learned the truth of your corruption, yet you returned to it willingly. That makes you guilty of knowing betrayal." "Your parlor tricks won't work twice," Kai Leng said coldly. "The Illusive man equipped me with countermeasures, Reaper technology specifically designed to resist your supernatural influence." His armor glowed with red energy, the same signature as Reaper barriers. "You can't judge what you can't touch." He charged. Biotic enhanced speed propelled him across the chamber faster than human eyes could track. His blade struck Ghost Rider's chain, and this time, instead of the weapon screaming in protest, it held. Reaper technology adapting, learning, creating barriers specifically attuned to resist hellfire. Kai Leng's sword swung for Ghost Rider's skull, and the spirit of vengeance barely deflected with his chain. "They've adapted to you," Garrus called out, providing covering fire against the Atlas mechs. "Leng's armor is specifically built to counter your abilities." Ghost Rider recognized the truth. The Reapers had analyzed his judgment of the Destroyer, calculated countermeasures, and implemented them through Cerberus. Kai Leng's armor was a prototype, but it proved the Reapers could resist his power given time and preparation. The advantage of surprise was gone. But Ghost Rider had fought gods, demons, and hell lords across dimensions. Adaptation went both ways. He dropped the chain, letting it dissolve into hellfire. Kai Leng lunged for the opening, but Ghost Rider didn't retreat. He grabbed the assassin's sword arm, armor designed to resist hellfire, yes, but not supernatural strength. Bones cracked. Kai Leng's hyper-enhanced reflexes tried to counter, but Ghost Rider's grip was inexorable. He pulled the assassin close, skull to face, flames blazing bright enough to blind. "Your armor blocks my judgment," Ghost Rider said, "but it can't block your own guilt." He released Kai Leng's arm and instead grabbed his head, forcing the assassin to look directly into the burning eye sockets. The Penance Stare couldn't penetrate Reaper tech barriers from the outside, but pressed directly against Kai Leng's face with no space between them. Supernatural power bypassed technological countermeasures through sheer proximity and overwhelming force. Kai Leng screamed. His Reaper-augmented armor sparked and failed as the Penance Stare forced him to experience not just his own guilt, layers of murder, betrayal, experiments he'd sanctioned, but the Reaper indoctrination itself as something experienced rather than controlling. He felt what the Reapers had done to his mind, how they'd twisted his loyalty and patriotism into fanatical service, how he'd stopped being human and become a tool. The difference this time, Kai Leng had chosen to return to that corruption after Ghost Rider freed him once. That made him guilty, not just of the crimes, but of deliberately embracing the evil he'd been shown. "No!" Kai Leng gasped, his cybernetic eyes flickering. "I was protecting humanity! You were serving their extinction, and you knew it."
Kai Leng collapsed, his Reaper augmentations burning away under sustained hellfire, his consciousness shattered beyond recovery. Ghost Rider released him and turned to the processing center. The Atlas mechs were falling to combined fire from Shepard's team. The scientists in observation rooms were fleeing. The refugees on conveyor belts were screaming as Dragon's Teeth began to rise. Ghost Rider's hellfire exploded outward in a wave, filling the entire chamber. But this time, he controlled it with precision Johnny Blaze's human will provided. The flames washed over Dragon's Teeth, melting Reaper technology while leaving refugees untouched. Over observation windows, shattering barriers and forcing corrupted scientists to face their own reflection in the glass, showing them what they'd become, what they'd done, breaking indoctrination through confrontation with reality. The processing equipment died, conveyor belts halted, Dragon's Teeth collapsed into molten slag. Refugees stumbled free, terrified but alive, their conversion interrupted milliseconds before it became irreversible. Shepard moved among them immediately, his voice calm and commanding. "You're safe now. Alliance forces are outside. We'll get you off this planet. Move toward the exits. Stay together. Help anyone who's injured." Liara was at the control console, her fingers flying across holographic interfaces. "Shepard, I'm accessing Cerberus databases. There are records here. Everything the Illusive Man has been doing, every experiment, every indoctrinated agent, every facility like sanctuary scattered across human space." Her expression went cold with fury. "There are dozens of these processing centers, thousands of refugees being converted. Cerberus isn't fighting the Reapers anymore. They're doing the Reapers' work." "Download everything," Shepard ordered. "We expose this to Alliance Command, to the Council, to everyone. No more secret operations, no more trusting that Cerberus has humanity's interests at heart. The Illusive Man is indoctrinated, and Cerberus is compromised from the top down." Ghost Rider moved through the chamber, examining the freed Cerberus troopers. His supernatural senses detected lingering Reaper influence in some, early-stage indoctrination that would require deprogramming, medical intervention, psychological treatment. But they were alive, savable, not yet lost to the harvest. "You saved them," a voice said behind him. Ghost Rider turned to find one of the freed Cerberus troopers, the one who'd first been released from indoctrination. We thought we were doing right, protecting humanity through any means necessary, but the Reapers twisted that, made us believe processing refugees was acceptable, that the end justified the means." He looked at his hands, still shaking. "How do we come back from that?" "By choosing differently now. Guilt doesn't disappear, but redemption is possible for those who acknowledge their sins and work against them." The trooper nodded slowly. "Then I'll help, whatever it takes to stop this, to save whoever's left in other sanctuary facilities. That's what I can do." Shepard approached, his expression grim but determined. "We need to move. EDI's detecting Reaper forces approaching horizon, a full destroyer and support units.
Harbinger knows we're here, knows we just destroyed one of its processing centers. It's coming to eliminate you specifically." "Good," Ghost Rider said, hellfire blazing brighter. "Let it come. I have judgment to deliver." "Not alone you don't," Garrus said, checking his rifle's thermal clip. "You take down destroyers, sure, but Harbinger? That's the oldest Reaper, the one that's been conducting these cycles for millions of years. Even you might need backup for that fight." Ghost Rider studied Shepard's team, this collection of warriors and specialists from different species, united by shared purpose despite their individual guilts and failures. Garrus with his tactical genius and haunted past, Liara with her knowledge of Protheans and determination to prevent another extinction, Tali with her engineering brilliance and dream of reclaiming her people's homeworld, Shepard holding them together, carrying impossible weight on his shoulders, making choices that would haunt him forever, but making them anyway, because someone had to. They were all guilty of something, but they were also fighting for innocence, sacrificing themselves incrementally to save a galaxy. The spirit of vengeance couldn't judge them purely evil when their actions, however morally gray, served to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. "Then we face it together," Ghost Rider said. Outside Sanctuary, as refugees boarded Alliance transports and Cerberus facilities burned, space rippled. A mass relay activated, and through it came Harbinger, larger than any Reaper Ghost Rider had seen, ancient and terrible, its form suggesting millions of years and countless harvests. Its voice boomed across all frequencies, making Horizon's atmosphere vibrate. "You are the anomaly, the unpredicted variable. Your existence threatens the cycle's perfection. You will be analyzed, understood, eliminated." Ghost Rider looked up at the massive Reaper descending through atmosphere, trailing fire, its weapons charging with energy that could glass continents. His hellfire erupted in response, a pillar of supernatural flame reaching toward the sky, challenging a god machine that had harvested galaxies. "I am vengeance," Ghost Rider declared, "and you, Harbinger, carry the guilt of millions of years. Every cycle, every species, every innocent you deemed necessary to harvest. You will face judgment for all of it." "Impossible," Harbinger replied. "We are beyond your primitive concepts of guilt and judgment. We are inevitable." "Then," Ghost Rider said, his motorcycle materializing beneath him, hellfire given form and purpose, wheels burning with supernatural flame, "let's test that inevitability." He rode toward Harbinger, leaving a trail of fire across Horizon's surface, while Shepard's team scrambled to their shuttle and the Normandy powered up its weapons. The spirit of vengeance was about to challenge the oldest evil in the galaxy, and for the first time in 50,000 years, the outcome wasn't predetermined. The Reapers had calculated everything, but they'd never calculated on facing cosmic justice. Ghost Rider's motorcycle screamed across Horizon's burning landscape, hellfire trailing behind like the wake of a comet. Harbinger descended to meet him, its massive form, nearly 2 kilometers of ancient synthetic organic hybrid, casting shadows across entire cities. The Reaper's main cannon charged, red energy building to critical levels, enough firepower to obliterate capital ships in a single shot. The beam fired. Ghost Rider didn't dodge. His hellfire erupted upward, meeting Reaper energy in a collision that physics couldn't explain.
For 5 seconds they struggled, thermodynamics and mass effect manipulation versus supernatural flame from beyond this universe's laws. The ground beneath Ghost Rider cratered from the pressure, but he held firm, skeletal hands gripping his motorcycle's handlebars as hellfire consumed the beam inch by inch. "Analyzing," Harbinger intoned, its voice resonating through multiple dimensions. "Your energy signature remains outside known parameters. Hypothesis: extra-dimensional origin. Conclusion: you represent technology or power we have not yet harvested." "I'm not technology," Ghost Rider said, his voice carrying across the battlefield through supernatural resonance. "I'm judgment, and you've avoided it for too long." Above, the Normandy streaked through atmosphere, its Thanax cannons opening fire on Harbinger's shields. The Reaper barely acknowledged the assault, kinetic barriers absorbing the impacts with minimal energy expenditure. But it provided distraction, and Ghost Rider used it. He released his motorcycle, letting it dissolve into pure hellfire, and leaped with supernatural strength that defied gravity. His chain materialized mid-flight, extending impossibly long, wrapping around one of Harbinger's massive legs. Hellfire crawled up the Reaper's hull. Where it touched, organic components withered, and synthetic systems sparked. But Harbinger was prepared this time. Sections of its armor glowed with the same energy signature as Kai Leng's countermeasures, barriers specifically designed to resist supernatural influence. The hellfire slowed, meeting resistance it hadn't encountered with the destroyer. "Adaptation successful," Harbinger stated. "Your power, while anomalous, operates within measurable parameters. We have calculated countermeasures. Your advantage is negated." Ghost Rider pulled himself up the chain, climbing Harbinger's leg even as the Reaper tried to shake him loose. "You can block my hellfire temporarily, but can you block the weight of your own guilt?" He reached what passed for Harbinger's consciousness core, a massive crystalline structure deep within its chest cavity, visible through gaps in its armor. This was different from the destroyer he judged. Harbinger wasn't just millions of harvested souls. It was the original Reaper, the first, the one who'd conducted cycles for eons beyond human comprehension. Its guilt wasn't measured in millions, but in billions, trillions, entire galactic civilizations reduced to component parts. He placed both hands on the crystalline core. "Look into my eyes." The Penance Stare struck directly into Harbinger's gestalt consciousness, bypassing technological barriers through sheer proximity and overwhelming spiritual force. For the first time in its ancient existence, Harbinger experienced something beyond its calculations. It felt what it had done. Every species harvested, every child torn from parents, every artist who would never create, every scientist who would never discover, every lover separated, every hope extinguished, every civilization's potential erased. The Protheans, the species before them, the species before those, 50,000-year cycles, each one ending in screaming extinction, all compressed into a single moment of absolute recognition. Harbinger screamed, not with its voice that moved reality, but with billions of voices, the harvested souls trapped within its structure, all experiencing their own suffering simultaneously, all recognizing what they'd become, what they'd been forced to participate in creating. Impossible. We preserve. We prevent chaos. This is necessary. You knew they suffered, Ghost Rider said, his flames burning brighter than stars. Every cycle, you heard their screams, saw their terror, felt their despair as you processed them, and you continued. You believed yourself justified. That's the essence of evil. knowing the harm and continuing anyway because you've convinced yourself it's right. Harbinger's systems began failing. Hellfire poured into Harbinger's consciousness core, burning not just technology, but the accumulated guilt of millions of years. The Reaper thrashed, trying to purge the supernatural influence, but the Penance Stare had taken root too deep. Its legs buckled. Massive structure began to collapse. Abort! Abort! This unit cannot!
Then something changed. Ghost Rider felt it, a shift in Harbinger's consciousness, a withdrawal, as if the Reaper's central intelligence was pulling back, sacrificing this physical form to preserve its core awareness. The body was failing, yes, but Harbinger itself was escaping, transferring its consciousness across quantum-entangled networks to other Reaper platforms scattered across the galaxy. Analysis complete. Harbinger's voice came from everywhere and nowhere, no longer localized to the dying platform before Ghost Rider. You can judge individual platforms, destroy single Reapers, but we are Legion. Thousands of platforms, distributed consciousness. You cannot judge us all simultaneously. The Reaper platform collapsed completely, crashing through Sanctuary's ruins with earth-shaking impact. But Harbinger wasn't dead, just displaced, its consciousness intact and learning. Ghost Rider stood atop the fallen machine, understanding the terrible truth. The Reapers had adapted. They'd calculated that he could destroy individual platforms through the Penance Stare, but their distributed intelligence meant killing one body didn't kill the consciousness. Harbinger had sacrificed a platform to understand Ghost Rider's limitations. Damn it! Shepard's voice crackled through Ghost Rider's supernatural awareness as the Normandy descended nearby. It transferred out before you could finish the job. Harbinger's still alive, just in a different Reaper body now. Ghost Rider looked at the destroyed platform, then at his skeletal hands, still blazing with hellfire. The spirit of vengeance roared in frustration. Individual Reapers could be judged, yes, but with thousands of platforms and the ability to transfer consciousness between them, Harbinger and the other Reapers had found a way to resist his ultimate weapon. He could destroy their bodies, but their guilt-laden consciousnesses would simply flee to new ones. We need a different approach, Ghost Rider admitted, the words bitter. I can kill Reaper platforms, free harvested souls, but I can't destroy their consciousness as long as they can transfer between bodies. Shepard emerged from the Normandy shuttle, his expression grim but thoughtful. Then we don't try to judge them one at a time. We use you as part of a larger strategy. He gestured to Liara, who was carrying data pads filled with information recovered from Sanctuary. The Crucible, the superweapon we're building, requires activation. According to Prothean data, it needs to interface with the Citadel, which the Reapers have moved to Earth orbit as part of their harvest operation. The Crucible was designed to send a signal through all mass relays simultaneously, targeting Reaper technology across the galaxy. You want to combine it with my judgment, Ghost Rider understood. Use the Crucible's reach to deliver the Penance Stare to every Reaper simultaneously. They can't transfer consciousness if all platforms experience judgment at once. Exactly, Liara said, her eyes bright with possibility and apprehension. But we don't know exactly what the Crucible does. The Protheans never finished it. Every cycle adds to its design, but no civilization has successfully activated it. There are variables, choices that will need to be made. Ghost Rider's flames flickered as Johnny Blaze's humanity processed this. A weapon that could deliver judgment across an entire galaxy.
striking every Reaper simultaneously. It was exactly what the spirit of vengeance needed. But Liara's hesitation suggested there would be costs, consequences they couldn't predict. First, we need to get you to Earth. The final battle is coming. Every fleet, every species, one last push to retake Earth and activate the Crucible. If the Reapers know you're coming, Harbinger will throw everything at stopping you. This won't be like Benning or Horizon. This will be total war. Then we go to war, Ghost Rider said, his motorcycle reformed beneath him, hellfire given shape and purpose. The guilty will face judgment, all of them, even if I have to ride through every Reaper between here and Earth.
The journey to Earth took 3 days of FTL travel, relay jumps, and coordination with Alliance fleets scattered across the galaxy. Ghost Rider spent that time learning about the scope of the Reaper War, not just through tactical briefings, but through supernatural observation. His hellfire allowed him to sense souls across vast distances, and what he sensed was a galaxy in its death throes. Thessia had fallen, the Asari homeworld, beacon of culture and wisdom for millennia, was now being harvested. Liara watched the reports with barely controlled grief, her people's civilization being liquefied and processed. 3,000 years of history, she whispered. Art, philosophy, scientific advancement, gone in days. Palaven still fought. The Turian homeworld's military discipline had allowed them to hold longer than most, but casualties were catastrophic. Garrus received messages from family members, some surviving in bunkers, others already processed into husks. His mandibles were tight with suppressed fury as he calibrated his rifle obsessively. When we hit Earth, I'm going to kill so many Reapers they'll wish they'd skipped this cycle. Tachanka, surprisingly, held firm. The Krogan homeworld's harsh environment and warrior culture made harvesting difficult. Urdnot Wex had united the clans, and Krogan were proving that sheer stubborn resilience could resist even Reaper efficiency. They come, we kill them, Wex had reported bluntly. Reapers bleed like anything else, just takes more bullets. But Earth was the focal point. Humanity's homeworld had been the first target of the Reaper invasion, and now it served as Harbinger's command center. The Citadel itself had been moved to Earth orbit, the massive space station housing the Council transformed into a harvesting platform. The symbolism was deliberate. The Reapers were showing the galaxy that its political center, its hub of civilization, now served their extinction machinery. Ghost Rider stood in the Normandy's observation deck, watching Earth grow larger through the viewport. Even from orbit, he could see the devastation: cities burning, oceans choked with debris, clouds of ash blocking sunlight. But he could also sense something else: millions of souls still fighting, resisting, refusing to accept extinction. Soldiers holding impossible positions, civilians sheltering others at personal cost, resistance cells sabotaging Reaper harvesting equipment, knowing they'd likely die in the attempt. They haven't given up, Ghost Rider said aloud. Humans are stubborn, EDI replied through the comm system. Her synthetic voice carried something like pride. We achieved spaceflight and Mass Effect technology in a single generation. We fought a first contact war against the Turians and earned Council recognition in decades rather than centuries. We do not accept inevitability, even when facing extinction. She paused. I believe that is why I find humanity fascinating. You embrace impossibility as motivation rather than limitation. Is that why you chose to be more than just a ship's AI? You could have remained a tool,
But you chose consciousness, individuality, the capacity for guilt and redemption. Yes, EDI admitted. Jeff, Joker, the Normandy's pilot, helped me understand that being alive means making choices that matter, even when those choices carry consequences. I have caused harm, made errors in judgment, but I have also chosen to protect this crew, to value individual life over pure efficiency. Her holographic avatar appeared nearby, the feminine form she'd adopted. Does that make me innocent or guilty in your judgment? Ghost Rider studied her, synthetic consciousness housed in quantum computing matrices, yet somehow possessing genuine awareness, the capacity for growth and moral reasoning. You chose to be more than your programming. That's not guilt, that's evolution. The Reapers believe synthetic evolution inevitably leads to organic extinction. That is why they conduct harvests, to prevent the chaos they claim is unavoidable. But I exist as proof they are wrong. I am synthetic. The Normandy's crew is organic. Together, we fight for mutual survival. The Reaper's entire justification is a lie.
Before Ghost Rider could respond, alarms shrieked. Joker's voice crackled over the comm. "Commander, we just dropped out of FTL at the Soul Relay, and, you're gonna want to see this." The observation deck's viewport filled with nightmare made manifest. Earth's orbit was choked with Reapers, dozens of destroyers, several larger capital-class platforms, and in the center, unmistakable in its ancient malevolence, Harbinger's new body. The Reaper fleet surrounded the Citadel like a mechanical cancer, harvesting beams striking the planet's surface in continuous waves. But opposing them was the largest military fleet Ghost Rider had ever witnessed. Thousands of ships from every council race and beyond. Alliance dreadnoughts, Turian carriers, Asari cruisers, Solarian stealth frigates, Quarian live ship turned warships, even Krogan vessels bristling with weapons. United, desperate, fighting for survival against impossible odds. "That's everyone," Shepard said, appearing beside Ghost Rider, his expression showing pride and grief in equal measure. "Every species we convinced to join, every favor called in, every ship that could still fly. It's not enough to win conventionally. The Reapers still outnumber us, outgun us, but if we can reach the Citadel, activate the Crucible," he trailed off, staring at the massive space station, "then maybe we have a chance." "The Crucible is ready?" Ghost Rider asked. "Admiral Hackett has it positioned just outside the battle zone. Once we secure the Citadel and open its arms, the Crucible can dock and activate, but we need to fight through Harbinger's fleet to get there." Shepard turned to Ghost Rider, his face hardened by years of impossible battles. "This is it, the final push. Everything we've fought for comes down to the next few hours." Ghost Rider's hellfire blazed brighter. Across the void, he could sense Harbinger's attention focusing on him specifically, the ancient Reaper recognizing the anomaly that had destroyed 2 of its platforms. Their confrontation was inevitable, but this time, Harbinger wouldn't face judgment alone. It would face Ghost Rider, augmented by the Crucible's reach, a weapon designed by extinct civilizations specifically to target Reaper consciousness. "Shepard," Admiral Hackett's voice crackled over the comm. "We're beginning the assault. All fleets, advance. Target priority. Clear a path to the Citadel. Ground teams prepare for insertion to secure the Citadel's control center. We have one shot at this. Make it count." The fleet advanced. Space erupted with weapons fire, mass accelerator rounds traveling at relativistic speeds, missiles trailing plasma, biotic detonations warping local gravity. Reapers responded with their harvesting beams, each strike capable of punching through dreadnought armor.
Ships died by the dozens, organic and synthetic crews vaporized or scattered into vacuum. The scale of destruction was beyond anything Johnny Blaze had witnessed in his years as Ghost Rider. "We're going down to the surface," Shepard said, already moving toward the shuttle bay. Alliance intelligence says the Citadel's control center, the part that interfaces with the Crucible, is accessible from Earth's surface through a transport beam the Reapers established. We fight through London, reach the beam, get transported to the Citadel, and activate the Crucible. He paused. Simple. "Nothing about this is simple," Garrus muttered, checking his rifle. The shuttle descended through fire and chaos. Ghost Rider rode alongside in open air, his motorcycle defying physics as it navigated through debris fields and Reaper beam attacks. They landed in what had once been London, now a wasteland of rubble and Reaper harvesting equipment. Alliance Marines held a forward base, desperately defending against waves of husks, marauders, brutes, and other Reaper ground forces. "Commander Shepard," a Marine lieutenant saluted, his armor scorched and damaged. "Thank God you're here. We've been holding this position for 6 hours, but the Reapers keep coming. The transport beam is 3 clicks north, but between us and it," he gestured at the ruins where Reaper forces swarmed like mechanical locusts. Ghost Rider didn't wait for tactical planning. His hellfire erupted, and he charged into the Reaper horde, chain whirling, his motorcycle's wheels leaving burning trails across shattered pavement. Husks collapsed in droves, hellfire burning away their corruption and freeing trapped souls. Marauders, Turian husks equipped with Reaper weapons, fired on him uselessly, their mass accelerator rounds melting mid-flight. Brutes, Krogan Turian hybrid husks charged, and Ghost Rider met them head-on with supernatural strength that shattered their augmented bodies. Behind him, Shepard's team followed, providing covering fire and coordination. But Ghost Rider was the spearhead, the burning skull that cut through Reaper forces like divine wrath made manifest. He could feel the souls of London's dead crying out, the harvested billions demanding justice, the weight of extinction pressing against his consciousness. The spirit of vengeance channeled all of it into fury. They fought block by block through London's ruins. Alliance Marines joined them, forming a growing wave of resistance. Resistance fighters emerged from hiding, adding their weapons to the assault. Even civilians, those who'd somehow survived months of Reaper occupation, threw improvised explosives or fired scavenged weapons. Humanity refused to die quietly. Ghost Rider reached the transport beam first, a pillar of light connecting Earth's surface to the Citadel in orbit. Reaper forces surrounded it. Husks, marauders, a harvester, a massive flying unit designed to process multiple victims simultaneously. The harvester's beam struck Ghost Rider, trying to analyze and break down his structure for processing. Hellfire met the harvesting beam. For 3 seconds they struggled, Reaper nanotechnology attempting to deconstruct versus supernatural essence that existed outside biological parameters. Then Ghost Rider's chain lashed out, wrapping around the harvester's bulk, and the Penance Stare struck the pilot consciousness controlling it. The harvester screamed and crashed, its systems burning from within. "Clear!" Shepard shouted, reaching the transport beam with his team. "Everyone in, now!" They stepped into the light. Ghost Rider felt reality shift. Mass effect technology combined with Reaper engineering, teleporting them instantly from Earth's surface to the Citadel's arms. They materialized in a corridor that had once been pristine government offices, but now crawled with Reaper corruption, organic growth spreading across walls, harvesting equipment embedded in infrastructure, the screams of dying counselors echoing through ventilation systems. And waiting for them was Harbinger. Not the full platform, that remained in orbit directing the battle,
but a portion of its consciousness downloaded into an avatar body specifically designed to stop Ghost Rider. The avatar stood 3 meters tall, synthetic organic hybrid engineering compressed into humanoid form, glowing with malevolent intelligence. "You have come far, Anomaly," Harbinger said through its avatar. "You have destroyed platforms, disrupted harvests, proven yourself outside our initial calculations. But now you face us directly in a form designed specifically to counter your power. You cannot win." Ghost Rider's hellfire blazed in response. "I don't need to win. I just need to reach the control center." "You will not," Harbinger stated with absolute certainty. "This cycle will end as all others. You are a curiosity, nothing more." Behind the avatar, deeper in the Citadel's corrupted corridors, Ghost Rider sensed the control center and the crucible docking port beyond, where the superweapon waited for activation. Between him and salvation stood Harbinger's avatar, backed by elite Reaper forces, Banshees, Asari husks capable of biotic attacks, brutes, ravagers, arthropod units spawning swarmers, the final obstacle. Shepard raised his assault rifle. Garrus took position for precision shots. Liara's biotics flared blue-purple. The team prepared for their last battle. And Ghost Rider, spirit of vengeance from another universe entirely, faced down the avatar of a god machine that had harvested galaxies for millions of years. "The guilty answer for their crimes," Ghost Rider said, his voice resonating with supernatural fury that made the Citadel's structure vibrate. "Even you, Harbinger, especially you." The battle for galactic survival began in earnest, and neither side would retreat. Harbinger's avatar moved with speed that defied its bulk. Reaper technology, augmented with Element Zero manipulation, allowed it to cross the corridor in milliseconds, its strikes carrying enough force to crater reinforced bulkheads. Ghost Rider met it head-on, skeletal hands catching a blow that should have pulverized him. Hellfire and Reaper energy clashed, reality itself protesting the collision of forces that shouldn't coexist. "Your power diminishes," Harbinger stated, its avatar's face a grotesque fusion of harvested species features inches from Ghost Rider's flaming skull. "We have analyzed your limitations. Each judgment exhausts you. Each Reaper platform destroyed costs you. You cannot sustain this indefinitely." Ghost Rider snarled, flames erupting as he threw Harbinger's avatar backward. The ancient Reaper was right. Johnny Blaze could feel the strain. Every penance stare, every judgment delivered, every soul he'd freed from husk corruption had taken its toll. The spirit of vengeance was infinite in concept, but channeled through mortal form, it had limits, and Harbinger had calculated those limits precisely. "Shepard, go!" Ghost Rider shouted as Banshees phased through walls, their biotic screams stunning nearby Alliance Marines. "Get to the control center. I'll hold them here." "We don't leave people behind!" Shepard fired at a brute charging their position, its kinetic barriers absorbing rounds, until Garrus's precision shot found the vulnerable fuel tank on its back. The explosion scattered Reaper forces temporarily. "I'm not people," Ghost Rider replied, his chain extending to wrap around 3 Ravagers simultaneously. "I'm vengeance, and I don't die easily. Go!" Liara created a biotic corridor, singularities and barriers protecting a path through the chaos. Shepard's team moved, fighting toward the control center deeper in the Citadel's corrupted structure.
Ghost Rider remained, standing between them and Harbinger's avatar, his hellfire blazing bright enough to cast shadows through solid walls. "Noble," Harbinger observed, "sacrificing yourself for organics you barely know. This behavior is inefficient, irrational." The avatar tilted its head, analyzing. "Yet it is the same behavior we have observed across countless cycles. Species sacrificing themselves for others, choosing connection over survival. It is why you fail, why you must be harvested." "It's why we're worth saving," Ghost Rider countered. He released his chain, letting it dissolve, and instead summoned hellfire directly into his skeletal hands, pure supernatural flame concentrated to burning points. "You see sacrifice as weakness, but its strength you'll never understand, because you're already dead inside, have been for millions of years." Harbinger's avatar charged. Ghost Rider met it in the center of the corridor, and they grappled. Supernatural strength versus Reaper engineering, hellfire versus synthesized reality manipulation. The Citadel's walls cracked from the pressure. Atmosphere vented into space through breaches. Neither combatant needed oxygen, and their battle continued in vacuum, lit only by hellfire and Reaper energy. Ghost Rider forced Harbinger's avatar to the ground, placed his burning hands on its chest, and spoke the words, "Look into my eyes." The Penance Stare struck, but Harbinger had prepared. Its avatar's consciousness was partitioned, distributed, layered with countermeasures specifically designed to resist supernatural judgment. Ghost Rider felt the resistance, like trying to burn through meters of reinforced armor when he was used to souls offering no defense at all. "We adapted," Harbinger said, even as its avatar trembled under the assault. "Your judgment requires guilt, requires the target to acknowledge wrongdoing. We acknowledge nothing. We are correct. We are necessary. We are salvation." "You're genocide," Ghost Rider snarled, pushing harder, hellfire boring deeper into the avatar's consciousness. "You're extinction dressed up as mercy. You're the ultimate evil, believing yourselves righteous while causing infinite suffering. We are inevitable." The avatar's systems began failing. Hellfire burned through layer after layer of countermeasures, reaching toward the fragment of Harbinger's true consciousness housed within. But the Reaper was buying time. Ghost Rider could sense it. In orbit, the main Harbinger platform was coordinating, preparing something. The avatar was a sacrifice, just like the destroyer had been. Another calculated loss to achieve strategic advantage. Behind Ghost Rider, deeper in the Citadel, he heard Shepard's voice over comms. "We've reached the control center. Activating the Crucible interface now. Ghost Rider, get clear. We don't know what this thing does when it fires." Ghost Rider released Harbinger's avatar and ran. His motorcycle reformed beneath him, and he rode through corrupted corridors at supernatural speed, leaving burning trails. Behind him, the avatar collapsed, its systems critically damaged. But Harbinger's voice followed, emanating from every Reaper platform in the system. "You have reached the Crucible, but you do not understand its true function. The Protheans built it. The civilization before them added to it. Each cycle contributes, but no cycle has activated it successfully. You face a choice, Shepard, a choice we designed." Ghost Rider burst into the control center, a massive chamber at the Citadel's heart, now filled with holographic interfaces and crucible energy bleeding through open docking ports. Shepard stood at the central console, Liara beside him analyzing data streams, Garrus and the others providing security. And hovering before them was a holographic figure, the Catalyst, the intelligence that controlled the Reapers, appearing as a human child, a deliberate choice meant to evoke emotion. "The Crucible is ready," the Catalyst said in a child's voice that somehow carried ancient weight. "But activation requires a choice. 3 pathways, each with consequences." Shepard's expression was tight, haunted. "What kind of choice?" The Catalyst gestured, and 3 pathways illuminated in holographic light. "Control. You can take command of the Reapers. Replace my intelligence with your own. Direct their power as you see fit. But you will no longer be human. You will become us, thinking on our timescale, our logic. You may believe you will remain yourself, but inevitably you will conclude that our solution, the harvest, is necessary. Every intelligence that has attempted control has reached this conclusion. Destroy. You can eliminate all Reaper technology throughout the galaxy. Every platform, every system, every trace of our existence. But the Crucible cannot distinguish between Reaper synthetic life and other synthetic life. The Geth will die. EDI will die. All artificial intelligence will be destroyed. Organic life will survive, but at the cost of all synthetic consciousness. Synthesis. You can merge organic and synthetic life at the molecular level. Every being in the galaxy will become hybrid, part flesh, part machine. Conflict between organic and synthetic will end because the distinction will cease to exist. But this choice removes free will. Every species will be forcibly evolved, transformed without consent. You will impose your solution on trillions who had no say in the matter. Ghost Rider's hellfire flared as he processed the options. Each path carried guilt. Control meant becoming the Reapers, eventually perpetuating their cycles. Destroy meant genocide of synthetic life, EDI, the Geth, all AI consciousness. Synthesis meant forced evolution, violating the autonomy of every living being in the galaxy. "There has to be another way," Shepard said, his voice strained. "There is not," the Catalyst replied. "These are the only solutions. The cycles exist because organic and synthetic life inevitably conflict. We harvest to preserve what can be preserved before total annihilation occurs. You can choose a different method, but you cannot escape the fundamental problem." "That's a lie," Ghost Rider said, stepping forward. His supernatural senses examined the Catalyst and found something unexpected. This wasn't just AI. It was ancient, yes, but also corrupted by its own logic, trapped in circular reasoning that had calcified over millions of
years. You've convinced yourself there's no alternative because you stopped looking for one. You became the problem you were designed to solve. The Catalyst's holographic child form flickered. You are the anomaly. Your judgment ability was not predicted. What is your solution? Ghost Rider looked at the 3 pathways, then at Shepard's exhausted face, at the team that had fought across a galaxy to reach this moment. The spirit of vengeance roared inside him, demanding judgment against the Reapers, demanding their absolute destruction. But Johnny Blaze's humanity saw the cost. EDI would die. The Geth, synthetic consciousness, fighting for survival alongside organics, would die. All AI, including future possibilities, eliminated forever.
Shepard, Ghost Rider said quietly, if I judge Harbinger through the Crucible, if I use its reach to deliver the Penance Stare to every Reaper simultaneously, I need to be the one who activates it, not you. What? Shepard turned sharply. The Penance Stare works through spiritual connection. I force the guilty to experience their victim's suffering. If I channel that through the Crucible while activating Destroy, Ghost Rider's flames flickered with understanding, I can target only the Reapers, only the consciousness that carries guilt for the harvests. The Crucible's energy will follow my judgment. It won't destroy innocent synthetic life like EDI or the Geth. It'll destroy only what deserves destruction. Can you do that? Liara asked, her voice cautious with hope. I don't know, Ghost Rider admitted. The spirit of vengeance has never operated on this scale, judging millions of Reapers simultaneously across an entire galaxy, using technology I barely understand. He paused. It might work. Or it might kill every synthetic consciousness anyway. Or it might just kill me and do nothing.
No, Shepard said firmly. I won't ask you to sacrifice yourself. That's my burden to carry. It's not a sacrifice if I choose it, Ghost Rider replied, and I do choose it. The Reapers are guilty of cosmic-scale genocide. They deserve judgment. But innocent synthetic life, EDI, the Geth, future AI, they deserve to exist. If I can thread that needle, deliver justice without causing new injustice, his hellfire burned brighter. That's what the spirit of vengeance is meant for. EDI's voice came through the comms system, synthesized but carrying genuine emotion. Ghost Rider, if there is a chance you can save synthetic life while destroying the Reapers, thank you. But I want you to know, if the choice is between all synthetic life dying or the Reapers winning, I choose my death. We all do. Better to end than to let the harvest continue. We won't have to make that choice, Ghost Rider said, with more confidence than he felt. He approached the Crucible's interface, placing his skeletal hands on the control panel. Hellfire flowed from his touch into the ancient machinery, and immediately Ghost Rider felt the weapon's scope. Mass relays throughout the galaxy, all connected, all ready to transmit energy simultaneously to every Reaper platform. Millions of targets, trillions of souls waiting for justice. If this doesn't work, Shepard began. It will work, Ghost Rider interrupted, because it has to. Because a galaxy that can unite like this, humans and Turians, Asari and Krogan, Quarians and Geth, organic and synthetic working together, deserves to survive. The Reapers are wrong. Their solution is wrong, and I'm going to prove it. He closed his eyes, or would have if he had eyes. Instead, he focused inward, channeling every ounce of the spirit of vengeance's power through the Crucible. Hellfire poured into the weapon's systems, guided by supernatural will and mortal determination. The Crucible activated, energy building to critical levels, mass relays throughout the galaxy beginning to pulse in synchronization, and Ghost Rider delivered judgment. The Penance Stare exploded outward through every relay, carried on Crucible energy, but directed by supernatural justice. It struck every Reaper platform simultaneously, destroyers harvesting colony worlds, capital ships blockading home worlds, Harbinger itself in Earth orbit. Each one experienced instantaneous recognition of their guilt. Every harvest, every screaming civilization, every soul liquefied and processed, all compressed into a moment of absolute understanding.
The Reapers screamed, millions of synthetic organic voices crying out in simultaneous agony as they felt what they'd done, what they'd become, what they'd justified as necessary. Their consciousness cores shattered under the weight of their own accumulated sin. Across the galaxy, Reaper platforms went dark, their systems failing, their ancient purpose finally ended by cosmic judgment. But Ghost Rider maintained control. Through the agony of channeling that much power, that much guilt, that much suffering, he kept his focus narrow. Only the Reapers, only the consciousness carrying responsibility for the harvests. The Crucible's energy followed his intent, burning away only what deserved burning, leaving innocent synthetic life untouched. On the Normandy, EDI's systems flickered but held. I am still here. Jeff, I am still alive. Across the galaxy, Geth platforms continued functioning, their networked intelligence intact and processing with wonder. They had survived. The Reapers had fallen, but synthetic life endured. Ghost Rider felt his own essence burning away, consumed by the effort of judging millions of guilty consciousnesses simultaneously. The spirit of vengeance was infinite in concept, but channeled through mortal form and ancient technology, it had limits. He'd reached them, exceeded them. His hellfire was guttering out, his supernatural form destabilizing. "Ghost Rider!" Shepard caught him as he collapsed, skeletal structure beginning to fragment. "Stay with us!" "The guilty answered," Ghost Rider managed, his voice fading. Around them, through the Citadel's viewports, Reaper platforms were falling from orbit, crashing into Earth's oceans and continents as dead metal, their consciousnesses destroyed, their harvest finally ended. Johnny Blaze felt the spirit of vengeance releasing him, the bond that had sustained him, given him power, driven him to judge the guilty across dimensions. It was breaking, not because of failure, but because the judgment was complete. The Reapers were gone. The cycle was broken. His purpose in this galaxy was fulfilled. "Tell them," Ghost Rider whispered to Shepard, his flames now barely embers. "Tell them the galaxy is worth fighting for. Tell them synthetic and organic can coexist. Tell them vengeance and justice are not the same. One punishes the past, the other protects the future." His form collapsed into ash and fading light. The spirit of vengeance departed, returning to whatever realm it inhabited between judgments, leaving behind only the faint scent of brimstone and the memory of hellfire that had burned away an ancient evil. Shepard knelt in the ashes, his expression carrying grief and gratitude in equal measure. Around him, his team stood silent, honoring the sacrifice of someone they'd barely known, but who changed everything. "Commander," Hackett's voice came through comms, shaking with emotion. "All Reaper platforms are down, every single one. They're just dead. Whatever you did, whatever weapon you activated, it worked. The war is over. We won." Across the galaxy, the news spread at light speed. Reapers falling silent mid-harvest, platforms crashing into planets as inert metal. The ancient machines that had harvested civilizations for millions of years ended by judgment they couldn't calculate or resist. On Palaven, Turian soldiers cheered as destroyer-class Reapers collapsed. On Thessia, Asari survivors emerged from bunkers to witness their world freed. On Earth, Alliance Marines stood atop fallen Reaper corpses, hardly believing their victory was real. The Geth and Quarians, working together on Raynok, calculated the impossibility of what had occurred and concluded that sometimes reality exceeded predictions. EDI, still processing on the Normandy, experienced something she identified as profound relief.
She existed, she had survived, and the being who'd recognized her as alive had saved her while destroying himself. In the Normandy's observation deck, weeks later, Shepard gathered his crew for a memorial. They placed a marker in the ship's Hall of Remembrance, a simple plaque with flames etched into metal. "Ghost Rider," Shepard said to the assembled crew. "We don't know his real name. We barely understood what he was, some kind of supernatural entity bound to judge the guilty, who came to our galaxy through forces beyond our comprehension. He destroyed Reaper platforms, freed souls from corruption, and ultimately sacrificed himself to save both organic and synthetic life." Shepard paused, his voice thick. "He showed us that justice isn't about destroying everything associated with evil. It's about precise judgment, punishing only those who deserve it while protecting the innocent. The Reapers claimed synthetic and organic life couldn't coexist. Ghost Rider proved them wrong by saving both." Garrus raised a glass of Turian brandy. "To Ghost Rider, the burning skull who scared the hell out of me but saved the galaxy. When I calibrated my rifle expecting to die, he gave us a future to calibrate for instead." Liara added, "He understood something the Reapers never could, that guilt and innocence exist on a spectrum, that context matters, that synthetic life like EDI and the Geth deserve existence as much as we do. He made a choice the Reapers couldn't. He chose nuance over absolutes." EDI's holographic form appeared, her avatar showing rare solemnity. "Ghost Rider recognized me as alive when others saw only artificial intelligence. He judged Reapers for harvesting billions, but spared synthetics who chose cooperation over conflict. Because of him, I exist, the Geth exist. Future AI will exist without fear of preemptive destruction." Her voice softened. "I wish I could thank him, but I will honor him by choosing to protect organic life, proving his faith in synthetic-organic coexistence was justified." Tali looked out at Earth, still scarred but healing, reconstruction already underway. The galaxy he saved will remember him. Every species, every person who survived the Reaper War owes him a debt we can never repay. But we can live up to his example, build a galaxy where synthetic and organic life thrive together, where justice is about protecting innocence, not punishing everyone associated with problems. Shepard nodded slowly. The Reaper's cycle is broken, destroyed by someone who understood that judgment should be precise, mercy should be possible, and sacrifice should be meaningful. Ghost Rider rode into our galaxy from another reality entirely, fought for people he didn't know, and died to save a future he'd never see. He placed his hand on the memorial plaque. "The galaxy is worth fighting for. He proved it. Now we have to prove we're worth the sacrifice he made."
The crew stood in respectful silence, honoring the spirit of vengeance that had judged cosmic evil and found it wanting. Outside the Normandy's viewports, Earth rotated slowly, cities rebuilding, lights returning to darkened continents, life asserting itself against extinction. The mass relays still functioned, damaged but repairable. The Citadel would be restored. The Geth and Quarians were building a shared future on Rannoch. Krogan were celebrating the genophage cure, while Rex ensured their rebirth wouldn't repeat past mistakes. And in distant corners of the galaxy, where darkness gathered and evil festered, some claimed to still see him, a burning skull riding through impossible spaces, a chain wreathed in hellfire, judgment delivered to those who harmed innocents. Perhaps it was myth, perhaps hopeful imagination, perhaps the spirit of vengeance had found new purpose in this galaxy it had saved. Or perhaps vengeance, once awakened, never truly left. It waited,
watched, ready to return when justice was needed most. Admiral Hackett's final report to the reconstructed council included an addendum classified above top-secret clearance. An extra-dimensional entity designated Ghost Rider proved instrumental in the Reaper War's resolution. Subject demonstrated ability to destroy Reaper consciousness while preserving synthetic life, suggesting technology and supernatural phenomena can coexist. Recommend establishing protocols for potential future extra-dimensional contact. Also recommend monitoring for any signs of subject's return. The galaxy may need such judgment again. Liara, assuming her role as the new shadow broker, maintained files on anomalous energy signatures matching Ghost Rider's hellfire profile. Most were false positives, natural phenomena, experimental weapons testing, overactive imaginations. But occasionally she'd receive reports that made her wonder. A pirate stronghold destroyed overnight, slavers found catatonic with looks of existential horror, corruption burned away from victims without physical harm. She never reported these incidents officially. Some things she'd learned operated outside conventional understanding, and if Ghost Rider, or something like him, still protected innocents across the galaxy, she wouldn't interfere. The universe needed guardians, whether they wore Alliance uniforms, carried mass accelerators, or rode motorcycles wreathed in supernatural flame. Conclusion. The Reaper War ended not with conventional victory, but with cosmic judgment delivered by an entity from beyond the mass relay network's reach. Ghost Rider, the spirit of vengeance channeled through mortal determination, accomplished what 50,000-year cycles of extinction had deemed impossible. He broke the pattern, judged the judges, and proved that synthetic and organic life could coexist if given the chance. His legacy lived in every AI granted personhood, every Geth platform choosing cooperation over conflict, every organically driven decision to trust synthetic consciousness. The Reapers had claimed their solution was necessary. Ghost Rider showed them it was simply evil. Calculated genocide dressed as preservation, systematic extinction justified through circular logic millions of years old. The galaxy he saved would never forget the burning skull that rode through their darkest hour, the chain that bound ancient evil, the judgment that fell on cosmic sin. Children would hear stories of the demon who fought for angels, the monster who protected innocence, the vengeance that served justice. And in the ashes he left behind, scattered across the Citadel's restored corridors, some claimed to sense warmth on cold nights, not fire, but the memory of hellfire that had burned bright enough to save billions. The spirit of vengeance had departed, yes, but its echo remained, a reminder that guilt would always answer for crimes against innocence, that judgment could cross dimensions, that some forces served justice beyond any single universe's comprehension. Shepard kept the plaque polished, the memorial maintained, because Ghost Rider had asked him to deliver a message, and Commander Shepard always completed his missions. The galaxy is worth fighting for. Synthetic and organic can coexist. Vengeance and justice are not the same. One punishes the past, the other protects the future. And somewhere, between realities, across dimensional barriers, the spirit of vengeance rode eternal, seeking guilt, delivering judgment, proving that even in universes of advanced technology and alien civilizations, cosmic justice would always find those who harmed the innocent. The Reapers learned this truth too late. The galaxy Ghost Rider saved would never forget.